Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday? But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing.
People aren't making decisions purely based on price. Price is a factor, but it is absolutely not the end all be all. Like, people will pay twice as much for someone, at least, who connects with them and who they feel like gets them.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and boy am I excited, Nick, about today's episode.
Dude, me too. We just interviewed Maddie Mae of Adventure Instead, who only shoots elopements, intimate elopements. We're talking her, the couple, and a mountain. Like, that's it.
It was really cool, like, just to hear her break down everything about what she does for elopement. She's turned Adventure Instead into a massive brand, over 100,000 followers on Instagram, just killing the elopement game. If you're not wanting to do elopements, there's so many just deep nuggets of, and sticky buns maybe, of just great information involving business and how to grow it and how to be on brand for you. I was super pumped to have her on. I'm a big fan of her, and so it was great. Let's jump into this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. All right, thank you so much, Maddie, for joining us today. For the people in the How to Film Weddings world that don't know you, why don't you do us a favor, just kind of tell us a little bit more about you, where you're located, about your business, that kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Maddie. I grew up in Colorado, so I'm a Coloradan. I love mountains and the outdoors and dogs, obviously, because all Coloradans love dogs. And so I photographed weddings I realized this the other day, it's been 10 years since I started photographing weddings.
Awesome.
So I started photographing weddings when I was 17, back in high school. It was always like a pipe dream of mine to be a destination wedding photographer. I thought it was like pretty impossible, but that's what I wanted to do at 17. Then I took a pretty big detour in college and studied engineering, actually. Got an engineering, went 3.5 years through an engineering degree. All my family is engineers and doctors and lawyers, and I was really smart. I'm like got a massive nerd brain. And so I thought, like, if I can do calculus and statistics and engineering, I probably should, because it's a good paying job. That's a more like achievable career path than being a destination wedding photographer. So that's what I did. But I kept shooting weddings all through being in school full time. So I just kind of increased the amount I was doing every year. So like 10 one season, like 15 the next. I would shoot weddings kind of all summer, and then be an engineer in school. And it was this kind of weird, like I was doing two totally different things at the same time. And I got through, I was 3.5 years into my degree. Like, I was acing it. I was top of my class in honors, and decided to drop out of engineering because I came home from finals one day and realized that all I wanted to do was be a photographer. And just kind of had a big identity crisis and switched gears massively, and decided that I figured, it was probably pretty pompous to think this, but I thought, if I put 100% of my effort into this, like, I can make it work. I can make a living off of doing what I love, which is what I love is what I do in the summer, not what I'm doing in the school year. I don't want my life to be an engineer. And so I switched and did a marketing degree. I learned so much. I soaked up everything I possibly could in business school. And that was like the best decision I ever made, was actually learning business and learning marketing and soaking up every little bit of knowledge, reading every single textbook and all other books I could get my hands on. And that was when the idea, and it was around that same time that I had gotten the chance to photograph my very first elopement. And all these pieces kind of came together, and I realized, like, wow, I have a genius idea. I'm going to specialize in elopements. And because no one else is doing it, I don't see anyone else calling themselves an elopement photographer. There's this emerging market. I'm digging into market research reports of the wedding industry, like hundreds of pages deep, looking at trends, being like, I think this is going to go somewhere. And I love it. I absolutely fell in love with the first elopement that I photographed. It was so much more in alignment with me and my values. And so I kind of took a marketing brain, bunch of market research, my passion and my experience, and brought it all together, did a full rebrand of my business. And by the time I graduated college in 2015, I was marketing myself as, doing small outdoor adventure weddings and elopements, and launched into doing a season of 35 my first year. It was, gosh, I'm trying to keep all the numbers straight. Yeah, like 35 and then 40 some, and then 2017 was 55 elopements all on my own. That year just was explosive growth for me. And that year, it was basically exactly 2 years ago. I very much kind of found myself. So it was a lot of strategy, it was a lot of hard work, but there was also that piece of luck that elopements happened to explode and trend real hard right after I decided to specialize in them. So I kind of found myself at the forefront of a really amazing emerging market that was super exciting, and stuff just going viral everywhere on Instagram. But 2017, 55 elopements on my own was just way too much. It was like not feasible long term. So, and there's a lot of successful photographers that find themselves in that spot of like growing, grinding, and then realizing I am doing everything I set out to achieve, and now that I'm here, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this at this level long term. And you have to make hard decisions at that point of, do I cut my volume by a third and triple my prices, or what? And, some people leave the industry, some people do just that. Some people start associate programs and that kind of thing. And I didn't want to do any of those things. I wanted to do something that I've seen in other industries, but not in the photographer industry. I think videographers do it more, but for whatever reason, like, wedding photographers don't seem to create like teams and like studios in the same kind of way, like create that agency model of like, we're all in this together. We're all providing like as homogenized of a service as possible. And, all working together under the same brand, but it's not low end, it's high end. It's like top of the line. So, that's kind of what I envisioned for Adventure Instead, and hired Amber, another amazing photographer that works, with me. And, 2018, we shot 90 elopements as a team. I did 45, she did 45, and it worked. It was beyond my wildest dreams of how amazing that was to be able to serve more couples and help more couples, because there's just still not that many elopement photographers doing elopement photography full time at this like high level of like absolutely top-notch service being the priority. And I wanted more couples to be able to have that experience. And so hired another photographer. So now this year there's 3 of us. I'm doing 25 this year, which is such a more reasonable volume, and makes me absolutely love every single thing I get to shoot even more. And this is probably the much longer intro than you guys were wanting. But.
I love it. I'm just eating it up. No, I think our listeners do too.
I think it's great. And one of the things, so I listened to your interview that you did on the Bearded Tog podcast. And one of the things that you're talking about that you got into on that, and I'm hoping maybe you'll open up a little bit here as well.
Sure.
You mentioned elopements kind of fit with kind of what you what you believe and, kind of the direction that you wanted to go. Can you kind of, share your little story about why, they resonate with you and like that kind of stuff? I just think that that's just a different perspective on the whole wedding thing than most of us maybe have.
100%. I love talking about that. Please ask me all about that.
That's what we're doing. We're talking about you, Maddie. That's what we're doing this whole episode.
This is about me? Okay.
Yes.
Elopements. Yeah, I did kind of gloss over that, like what photographing that first elopement really meant to me and like what that experience was really actually like on a personal level. And yeah, it was nothing short of life-changing. I grew up in a really rough home environment, and there was alcoholism, domestic violence, abuse. It was really not an easy time for me. And just side note, photography is one of I think the things that honestly saved my life, really. And having that creative outlet, and I was extremely shy, quiet kid. Like really honestly, I'm a massive introvert. And I've had to learn a lot of skills to act a little less introverted, but photography was the only time that I really felt like a version of me I was really happy with, was when I was behind a camera and working with people and creating magic and making them feel great about themselves and being really proud of what I was creating. It was honestly like, it has been the only thing in my life that I've stuck with for that long, and it has been such an important thing for me at so many amazing moments in life. But that aside, elopements and the idea of a couple having a wedding day that is so truly about them, and also that it doesn't rely on having hundreds of family members there to make it real, definitely deeply touches me, in the sense that I haven't talked to my parents in almost 3 years. I am actually estranged from them at this point. I, reached a point in my life where the negativity that I was receiving from them was, I think, really holding me back on an emotional and like mental, psychological, energetic level, however you want to see it. And it was the hardest choice I've ever made, and also one of the best decisions that I've made as a self-care tool, and as just I can't be in that anymore. And so, but yeah, even before I needed to remove myself entirely from that situation, it's been really rough with my family for a very long time. And so I didn't realize when I was shooting big weddings how much there was kind of a base disconnect for me between me and big weddings, in the sense that it didn't click with me so clearly that every time I saw a father-daughter dance that I just wanted to cry, and that like a dad walking a bride down the aisle, and a parent giving an amazing toast about how much they love and support their kid, how I knew that could never be me. That's not me. That's not my life. That's not my story. That's not something that's ever going to be available for me. And whether I was single, whether I was in a relationship, that family piece, and big weddings are steeped in family stuff. They are all about the family. If the family's there, that I think big weddings are mostly for the family, actually, if I'm being honest. And so when I photographed my first elopement and I saw a couple, and it wasn't like, I think I had a preconception of elopements that, it's kind of lonely, it's kind of sad, like that they don't have all those people there to celebrate with them, and to experience it firsthand, and for it to see like, with all of the family stuff and the drama and the complication and the stress and all the just logistics of having 100 guests and keeping everybody happy stripped away, when you boil it back down to the idea of two people committing their lives to each other, and that is what a wedding is, and that the day is about them, it's about that commitment, and an elopement boils that down into a way that's just so beautifully simple and perfect. And like, I don't know where you go from here. I don't know how you have a more intimate and like more incredible way to get married than an elopement. Honestly, I can't think of one, because it's just so life-changing. And so being able to help couples, and I work with a lot of couples, like a lot of LGBTQ couples in particular. Had a couple of trans couples this year, who are completely disconnected from their families as well. A lot of LGBTQ couples who just don't want that energy around their wedding day. And I really feel deeply motivated and passionate about like, everyone deserves a wedding day that is incredible. And just because you don't have family support doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to have an incredible day. And that speaks to me super, super deeply. I eloped earlier this year on January 1st, and it was just me and my partner, and we hiked up a mountain in Peru and eloped at sunrise on New Year's Day. And it was the most perfect, magical experience I could ever imagine, honestly. And and being able to do that and create those days for couples that they say, I wish this day would literally never end. Can this day just last for the rest of my life because I feel so perfectly happy and at peace and everything is right? Like, I am so fulfilled by what I do. And when I photographed that first elopement, it just clicked with me of like, that is what has not been quite clicking with me with big weddings. And this is all that I want to do. These are my people. These are my people who are not obsessed with, with things and items and like, single-use plastic and table decor and how many bridesmaids you have and all of this stuff. And instead, seeing like focusing on their commitment to each other and making a day that's really truly celebratory about them and not for everyone else. Like, there's a million reasons why elopements connect to me, but
I love it all.
I cry very frequently coming home from elopements because they touch me so deeply. And at elopements, I'm an emotional person, so.
No, man, I love all that stuff, and I love the heart behind it. And whenever I heard your story on that other podcast, it was like one of those things that really, really resonated with me in the sense that we all have life experiences that really funnel in how we operate and how we work and how that stuff. And so I had never, I didn't have that experience that you had growing up, so it was just kind of eye-opening, to kind of hear other people's perspectives and what matters and that kind of thing. So that was, thank you for sharing that and opening up about that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into our question of the week presented by Wedditor. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. And this question actually comes from me. This is my own question because my wife and I, we have our first elopement in Yosemite scheduled for next May. Super excited about it. We've been talking a lot, and like I think that we definitely want to get into that more intimate kind of direction for our business for doing video and stuff. And so my question is, what suggestions do you have for someone that is interested in doing more intimate stuff, more elopement stuff? How would you recommend people get into that?
Do you want me to tailor this to video specifically? I mean, I teach I teach photographers this full time.
I mean, probably, I would say, if you can tailor it more toward video, because that's, our audience is mostly video. So.
Sure. Yeah. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Just
the strict spelling
bee. Like how do you start? Like,
Yes.
actually not repeat, rephrase. Are you asking how?
Okay. Yeah.
How do you get your first elopement inquiry? How do you properly serve a couple who is eloping? How are their needs different than a couple who's having a big wedding?
I would say how if you're interested in getting elopements and doing elopement video work, what steps should you take? How can you get your foot in the door to even start? Maybe we start with the inquiry process. How do you get that first one? And then we can go from there.
Absolutely. So I think one thing that's been really cool to learn and kind of apply my marketing brain to and see play out in my business is that the demographics and I think the psychology and the values and the personalities of people who want to elope are very different than people who have big weddings. Mm-hmm. It's just a different kind of person. It's a really different target market. And I teach this a lot in my course, the Elopement Photographer course, which I've actually had a lot of elopement videographers purchase and get a ton of value out of because there's not anyone really else teaching on how do you market to eloping couples, because it is, and I will stand by the fact that it is different and you reach couples in different ways than you would reach them for a big traditional wedding, because there are a lot of things that are different. We don't get any venue recommendations because we don't shoot at venues. We don't get a lot of vendor recommendations because we don't work with a lot of vendors, or if we do, we're the person that recommends them, not the other way around. We are almost always like the first point of contact. So like the marketing channels that eloping couples are using and the way they're using them is different than the traditional route that someone having a run of, I hate to say run of the mill, but more common, more traditional, big wedding. So backing up though, I think before you even talk about marketing channels and which you meaning the ways in which couples actually find you, I think it has to go back to your brand as a whole in the first part, because the thing that made the biggest difference for me I did that transition. I had an existing full-time wedding photography business that then transitioned to a full-time only elopement photography business. That transition took about 12 to 18 months, depending on how you look at it, from being I only shot big weddings to I only shot elopements, which is actually not that long. And so the biggest things that enabled me to make that transition and to really start attracting eloping couples absolutely started with my brand, with what I'm showing on my website, the words that I am using, how I'm creating that emotional connection with couples, particularly eloping couples. Tend to be kind of more intentional, doing like living life in general a little bit more consciously versus just I'm going to do what everyone else in my family has always done and have the same kind of sort of type of wedding as everyone else. Eloping couples like have that kind of there's like a need for uniqueness personality trait that eloping couples tend to test pretty strong in. That's how I am. That's like my personality trait as well, of like really wanting to do things differently. And so having a brand that speaks on that is that one lives it out, is different and is standing out in itself, and is like reaching out and saying like, you like to do things differently, don't you? Like you don't want to do the, you don't want to get married in the way that everyone else has. Maybe you've been to 100 weddings and you've never really felt like it's connected. Maybe you've been engaged for 5 years and can't figure out how to get married because nothing seems to fit. Let me tell you about this other way. And kind of speaking on that narrative, and it is a little bit of kind of a counter current wedding culture narrative in the sense of it's a little bit of like let's rage against the machine together and do something different. And so like having that thread like throughout my brand and saying like, and saying elopements are amazing, and also because they are nothing like what all these big wedding things are has been huge. So starting with making that emotional connection with eloping couples and saying like I am here for you, I'm on the same page as you, it has absolutely been huge. So I think it starts first of all with branding. And I think it's possible to create a brand that serves both, but not as effectively as specializing. I think the people, both photo and video, that are shooting the most elopements are the people who are specializing in elopements, because the demographic, the target market is so different. They have different values, different beliefs, different needs. They need a different workflow. They need a different type of service experience than couples having big weddings. And so I don't know if I'm entirely answering your question correctly.
I mean, you're saying that it's obviously if you're going to want to attract someone that to do these kind of weddings, these elopements, you're going to need to have the look and feel of your brand, your website, your Instagram account, your YouTube, all that. You're going to need to be able to show that kind of stuff in order to start attracting those people. It's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more difficult for me, who has shot I've never shot an elopement, but I've done a few kind of more outdoorsy wilderness kind of weddings, so I have a little bit of that. But for me to start saying, hey, I'm an elopement guy, but I literally have nothing to show for an elopement, I can have all the right verbiage, but in order to get those people, I need to have the verbiage and the brand and all of that kind of stuff first in place, and then start marketing to and attracting those kind of clients.
Yes, I think.
Did I say that right? That was kind of long-winded, and I feel like I messed up my words.
No, that is correct. I will correct you on one thing though, but first I'll agree with you. First, I'll agree with you, and then I'll correct you.
I like that. That's what I do with Nick. That's what he needs.
He does. I do. I need
You're
that.
right,
I need
Nick.
to be humble.
You're right.
Yes.
But
I will agree with you that. What am I agreeing with you on again?
I don't know.
I do the same
said a
thing,
lot of
Maddie.
stuff.
I try to agree, but I
stuff.
just don't.
I will agree with you that yes, it starts with branding, and I totally think it's possible. If someone just wants to shoot 1 or 2 elopements a year, you can add a little elopement section to your website and you will get 1 or 2 elopements a year. But if you really want to make it a significant part of your business, it's really important to understand that eloping couples are not going to be drawn to big wedding stuff, like having videos of big wedding parties and father-daughter dances and toasts and big receptions and crazy dancing, like, will turn off eloping couples. Like, they are not going to be drawn to it at all. Like, it is not going to emotionally resonate with them. And I think understanding that, particularly eloping, like, it's true with wedding couples too. Like, people make emotional decisions about their wedding, not rational. It's not like this person is confident they can do a good job. That's not how people make decisions about their wedding. They are, it's an ego expressive purchasing decision, in the sense of, when I'm planning my own wedding, I'm looking for the venue that's the most me, that because the venue I choose reflects something about me. It tells the world who I am. Just like the partner that I choose tells the world who I am. And also the dress I pick tells the world more about who I am. And it needs to fit me and my personality. And they make the same decisions about photographers and videographers. Like, the person I choose, and especially because these are the people who are responsible for the documentation of my day, like, what they are doing is going to be reflective of who I am. It's so, like, personal. It's super personal. And, people aren't making decisions purely based on price. Price is a factor, but it is absolutely not the end all be all. Like, people will pay twice as much for someone, at least, who connects with them and who they feel like gets them and will, like, enact, and who gets them not just on a personal level, but on, like, a beliefs, like a why level. And so putting myself and my passion and why I care about elopements, and that those reasons align with why couples want to elope, and that being throughout my entire site. And I'm talking directly to eloping couples as a target market, not anybody who's getting married. And no matter what type of wedding business you have, big weddings, small weddings, photography, videography, like, creating a brand that is specialized and is talking to one type of target client. I absolutely think in an industry this saturated and this competitive, that a focused differentiation strategy of marketing, of competing, is the only way to go. Meaning you can't compete. Price should not be your competitive advantage, because that's a race to the bottom. This is the only way to get a competitive advantage, is through differentiation. It's through creating something different, better, more specialized, more customized, more personalized. In order to do that, you need to be figuring out, how do my skills, talents, and values align with what niche market? Who can I best serve better than anyone else? And creating a business that is specialized around that. That's how you do this for 10, 20 or more years. That's how you charge twice as much as everyone else and still get booked like crazy.
We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light, The Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free.
So that really good info, really good stuff. It gets me thinking, I'm kind of the businessy minded guy that's always thinking about numbers and things like that. Before I ask a couple more questions, just what are you charging for these kinds of things? And then how are you, maybe give us just the rundown of what you do when it comes to elopements on charging as well as travel charge, all that kind of stuff. Just give us a breakdown on the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what I charge now or what I started out charging or what the industry average is?
Let's start with the 2019 kind of what your average, package cost would be, and then then we can move into talking about travel costs after that.
Sure. So 2019, we're super close to hitting 100 total elopements for 2019 between the three of us, and this year the average was $6,000 per eloping couple. So awesome. The lowest amount of hours that we let eloping couples book at the moment is 4. I used to offer 2 hour, but 2 hour elopement packages are very much against my entire philosophy on elopements. And it really rubs me the wrong way that when a photographer or a videographer will have on their site, big weddings, 8, 10, 12 hours, pick your package, elopements, 2 hours, here you go. Really bothers the heck out of me. I cannot explain how bad of an idea that is if you want to communicate that you care about elopements and eloping couples and think their day matters and that they deserve the story of their day told. And I think all day elopement coverage was something that I hadn't seen anyone else do. I didn't get that idea from anyone else until I started doing it. And it came from a perspective of, okay, I'm used to shooting these 8, 10, 12 hour big weddings. That's standard in the wedding photography industry. You get from getting ready till, midnight, and dancing covered a lot of times. And, they get the whole story told. It's just documentary. It's, the flow of the day, the start of the event, the anticipation, the build up, it has that kind of climax feeling of a good movie. You get the whole thing covered. Whereas what most photographers were offering for elopements was essentially just a glorified portrait shoot, and that was it, and that was enough, that should be sufficient for someone's wedding day, really bothered me because there's a lot of thoughts and challenges around I think it starts with how photographers have approached elopements that I think has created a lot of the expectation from couples that they only need 2 hours of coverage, that's all that they need. And so actually probably one of my best skills is telling couples who come to me thinking they need 2 hours and telling, and them coming away with a day and a half or 2 days of coverage, because I'm the first person who has told them, no. I get that, I get that I have a different approach and different philosophy than a lot of other photographers, but your day is not just a photo shoot. You deserve just as much documentation as a couple having a big wedding, because your day is just as important. Honestly, I've shot all the big weddings too, and I think the way that you're getting married is the best way to get married. Your day is going to be something that you actually really enjoy every minute of and want to look back on and remember every single moment of, because you're not just going to have 2 minutes to yourself on your elopement day. It's going to be, I would encourage you two to sit down and imagine the best day possible for the two of you from start to finish, from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, whether it's just the two of you, or if you invite your 8 closest friends or family members to be on board with that vision too. Dream up that entire day and imagine how awesome that whole day is going to be, and that you have the chance to be able to look back on that and relive that and remember that vividly for the rest of your lives. And that, this is what everyone else gets with big weddings. And I'm just telling you, you deserve just as much as them, because you're getting married too. It is your wedding day. It'll be so the good anniversary date for the rest of your life. And, there's just not a lot of people really telling couples that. So when you're the first person they've gotten on the phone with who said, I get you, I think your wedding day is important, when everyone else they're talking to says, here's my 2 hour package, it's $800, people aren't making these decisions based on price alone.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here listening to you say these things, and I'm just That is such good sales tactics. I mean, it's like forever for me, like I would show up in my sales meeting and just say, what do you want? Instead of like really listening to them and telling them what they really need, you know?
Yeah.
And so like whether you're doing elopements or not, that's something to definitely pull away right there. Is just, you don't need to go into your meetings with your couples, or, you know, if you're talking or with the couples, be listening to what it is that's really important and telling them, you know, that's, I'm going to use this is going to be your anniversary day tactic. I like that. But like just making sure that they know how important this actually is and not let them minimize it.
Yeah.
So
it is. And I think it also creates, you know, I've studied marketing, so I understand a lot of the psychology around the sales as well. It also creates cognitive dissonance around, if you get them on board with, do you think your day matters? And then saying, well, this is a reflection of that. You don't say it, but it almost creates cognitive dissonance around like, oh, geez, if I go with 2 hours, that's pretty much me saying I don't care about my wedding day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's good. So you've talked a little bit about the prices and stuff, the different packages. The big thing, especially, is I've done a few destination kind of, you know, 4 to 6 people elopement type things, always revolves around like what to charge for travel, how you wrap that in. With doing this many, I'm sure you've gotten that kind of down to a science. Yeah. What do you recommend for maybe somebody that's newer, and then what are you doing now?
Yeah, so it depends on your goals and how much you want to travel. Hands down, if your goal is to travel a lot, and I've already flown 100,000 miles this year, which is terrible for the planet, and I'm offsetting all my carbon. That's another thing. But I travel a lot.
How dare you? How dare you?
I travel a lot, and that's always been. Side note, though, I will say that 2 people taking, you know, me taking a plane ticket somewhere versus 150 guests all flying to one spot.
You're saving the planet. Yeah.
Thank
you for clarifying. Thank you for doing your part, Maddie.
Anyway, it still weighs on me. It still weighs on me, John. But I lost my train of thought. Okay, if you want to travel a lot, hands down, if you want it to be more likely that you get paid to travel, roll in your travel into your pricing. Do not charge extra for travel. Don't do it. Do not have anyone who's looking at hiring you, who's in another area or getting married in another area, look at a price plus a travel price and add them up. No, just do not do that. That's really good advice. You want to be Amazon Prime, because if you're looking at something on Amazon at $30 and free shipping, you're like, yes, I'm stoked. If it is $25 plus $4.99 shipping, you're like, where's the Amazon Prime option? Not doing it. Like, psychologically, like, no one likes to pay for shipping. No one likes to pay, like, people don't want to feel like they're paying for shipping you. Mm-hmm. People don't want to feel like they're paying for your plane ticket. They're still paying for your plane ticket. They just don't feel that way if you roll it into your pricing. And the simple solution is have multiple different pricing guides. We have 16 pricing guides 15 pricing guides between us 3. We each have 5 different ones depending on what location. When you get an inquiry, you know where they're going. You can see from the first time they contact you what location they are considering. And if they're considering a state that's different than yours, send them your out-of-state pricing guide that has your out-of-state travel rolled in already. So they're looking at one simple price and you're like, oh, is it extra for travel? Nope. Like, you're getting paid. You're getting your costs covered. It's settled. You're not charging for travel. Like, please, everyone should charge for travel. I'll just say that. No one should not charge for travel. Do not. Okay, that's a separate thing. But do not.
You should teach a course on this stuff.
We could totally teach a course on this stuff. I mean, yeah. So, yeah. If hands down. So then it becomes, okay, well, some states it costs more to travel to than others from where you are. Yes. So I live in Colorado, which is kind of geographically in the center of the U.S., which kind of helps because basically what I did is I look at our last year of inquiries. What are the top 10 outside of Colorado, but inside the U.S. locations that we've gotten inquiries for? Let me do 10 different travel quotes at different times of the year to those different places, add them all up, average them out, come up with a about this much is what it costs, and I'll just, pad it a little bit more. I'm going to add that on top of all of my local prices, create a pricing guide that I send to couples who are inquiring about Arizona or Southern California or or Glacier National Park. And when they inquire, that is what they get. So they'll get pricing, and they'll have 4 different collection options, for 4, like starting at, it'll be 8, 12, 16, and 24 hours of coverage, and they don't have to add up things or feel like, oh gosh, it's this plus I'm paying for her travel. I don't want to pay for someone's travel. Maybe I should look at someone local, because that's what someone will think if you have travel on top. So
that's really good.
I love. I heard that a long time ago. Someone mentioned to me when we were starting to get a little into destination stuff, and that's what they said was just roll the price together so that you can. It's no surprises, on the other end or anything like that. So that's great advice that we have done, and that has really helped when I'm like, no, that's what the price is. Which, oh, okay, cool. They like that, even though they are paying for it. So that's really good. So let me shift gears just a little bit and ask you, one, do you work with many video people on your elopements?
Yeah.
And what's that like?
I'm going to try to think about a number this year, because less than 10% of the time that I photograph an elopement, I have a videographer there.
So very, very small.
Very small.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's, the thing that kind of maybe not deters, I think would be a challenge that I would need to figure out is the whole gear issue. Because even now when I go on a wedding, the photographer has their one wheelie bag, and then, I have my 3 wheelie bags and my card and my tripod, all of my stuff. And so just from like a gear standpoint, video probably is a little bit harder, especially with what you do, waking up at 3 a.m. and hiking up a mountain and, doing this stuff when the day starts. So, okay, I have 2 questions here now that I've thought of. I'll start with one and then come back to the other. Number 1, how do you... No, I'm going to start with the other one.
Nick is having a great conversation with himself.
I am having a great conversation with myself. So
there's a lot going on in this head. I can see it.
There is.
He's got a really big head.
Thanks. How is it working? How do you work with the video on an elopement day?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I've had some challenging situations with video, actually more challenging with elopements than with big weddings. I'm not going to say the photographer line that I have good video friends that I respect a lot, and I'm not about the whole, like, we're, I don't, what are those, there's a lot of photographers.
You're on a team together on the day.
I'm a team player. I am. And like, I don't have that perspective of like, we're warring to get the best shots. Like, I haven't, and that isn't me. So I'll preface it with that. That's not where this is coming from. But yeah, it is a lot harder on an elopement, I think, to collaborate with, as a photographer, from a photographer's perspective. I think it's harder for me with an elopement than with a big wedding. And I think the intimacy of it is probably why, because it's so small. You're not just like another person that's watching an event, and you can kind of move around discreetly. And I'm even really aware of my presence as a photographer, especially on 2-person elopements. I care more about a couple's experience than anything else. Like how they experience their day, and them having a good time and having that memory be perfect and unstained and unspoiled in any way is the most important thing to me, more than the photos that I take. And I care a hell of a lot about my photos. So it matters a lot to me. What a couple's experience is like. And so I think it's been challenging for me to find videographers that are on the same page with that. And so when I have worked with a team of videographers before, beautiful work, stunning, cinematic, probably one of the best in the country. And the behind the scenes experience with them on an elopement day was tragic to me. Honestly, it was heartbreaking to me to see that they had turned what should be and what is like such a not stressful, not forced, not posed, not fake photo shoot day into a fake photo shoot. That it was like, redo that 8 times. Like, I need to get 8 different angles of you putting your dress on, so you need to do it 4 times. And and their shots are beautiful. Like, I totally get it, but there was a lack of awareness of like, this couple's eloping because they don't want a performance or a production, because they don't want to be just doing their day for someone else, because they're eloping because they want to enjoy because they want their day to be about them and centered on their commitment. And that was hard. That was hard. Yeah.
Do you think that was because this company doesn't do many elopements, or do you think that that's just kind of how they were and maybe your ideals were a little bit different?
They had done elopements.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't worked with them since then, but
yeah.
I think that, like, when you're thinking about this, especially on the videographer side of things, like, you should be team driven. And if you are at an elopement, it's not about you. Stop being so freaking romantic about getting that shot and having them redo it. If you're in a setting with 2 people and a photographer, don't be the guy that, like, everyone looks over at, like, why are you thinking this? Why are you doing it? Like, don't make them redo things. Like, go with the flow. This is a lot more natural, like, experience during the day. Or you're going to be the story of, who Maddie tells about whenever you say the horror story about weddings. So, like, I mean, it makes sense, but I haven't done a ton of elopements. So just, like, listening to you, it's like, yeah, I know I wouldn't do that just because I'm very empathetic to people. But I think a lot of video people don't realize, even if they're not in an elopement, like, that, like, they're not being socially acceptable for the moment. They're taking it too far.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And on the other side, over the last several years, I have made great relationships, and I refer all the time. There's like 3 different all 3 of them are solo shooters. I will say that they work alone. And I think that a solo shooter for video, I know that it's hard. I know that it's really hard to shoot alone for video, more so than photo. But adding, especially with 2-person elopements, it's a big step to go from 2 people plus a photographer to 2 people plus 1 videographer. But when it's like 2 people plus a photographer plus 2 videographers, you're all of a sudden outnumbered by your own vendors just by making that decision. It really changes the vibe. And a lot, like, eloping couples in general, like, the hands down top reason why couples want to elope is they want a day that's just about them. And so when they have that as their priority, it is pretty counterproductive to have more people with cameras than them on their day. And so I've had the most success with couples hiring and with working with solo shooters for elopements who and I'm very much a team player with videographers of checking in of like, okay, like, I know you might need some different things. I know you might need a few things redone. I know it might take you a little bit more to set up between stuff. And let's work together. Let's figure that out. Like, talk to me and I'll make it work. And like, I want us both to be able to get what we need. And I've created some very good productive relationships around that. And I think, I think the emotional and the highly intimate nature of elopements is vastly different than a big wedding. And so if you're a videographer who's only shot big weddings, going into elopement, being aware that, like, your presence is, like, affecting their day in a much bigger way than it would be at a small wedding. You're like 20% of their guests, 25% of their guests.
That's crazy. Yeah,
like,
put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that point and that thought, especially since I'm shooting one next year, as I can just, think about think about from that angle, from the aspect. We definitely want to talk about, some of the education stuff that you're doing, where people can find you. But real quick, before we jump into that, what gear are you taking on? I mean, you don't have to be specific, but I mean, are you just like one camera body, a couple lenses, and then like that's it? Or what are you bringing with you?
Yeah, I would never shoot an elopement without two bodies. That's just not smart. So I take two bodies with me. So I'm carrying right now a D8. I always carry it. Like right now I'm hiking in the Tetons Saturday morning for an elopement. I'll take excuse me. I will take my G750, my D850. I'll take my 7200, 85, 35, and 24. So I usually take two bodies and at least four lenses, sometimes more if I need a specialty lens for something.
Okay, so you're actually, I mean, you're fairly minimal, just bodies and lenses, but I mean, you're still bringing a good amount of stuff with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I carry with me almost everything that I have in my bag. Yeah. I mean, I have a couple of extra specialty lenses in my bag, but if I don't need them for that specific hike, they stay there. I carry all the extra memory cards and batteries that I need, carry a tripod. But yeah, and don't usually need a flash for hiking, but I have them in my bag for indoor stuff. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. So tell me, what CRM do you use? If you're not sure or you don't know what a CRM is, I'm about to save you a lot of time and therefore money. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. Basically, a CRM is an online service that helps you better serve your clients. HoneyBook is both mine and John's CRM of choice. We absolutely love it. HoneyBook allows us to do all of our correspondence, contracts, and payments all in one place. One of the features that I love is the automated workflow. We all have emails that we send out to all of our clients, right? At 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, the week of. All of us do it. Automated workflows make it so that those emails can go out automatically. Since I don't have to take time to, 1, remember to send them out, and 2, to write them, I save time and make more money by working more efficiently. Are you interested in saving time on the business side of things? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook for a free 1-week trial. Also, because the Honeybooks really like me and John, we can give you $200 off of your first year, and that also comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook to start saving lots of time in your business. Oh yeah, legally I have to tell you that John and I are affiliates of HoneyBook. So Maddie, I know you've gotten into the education space a little bit, and I know you offer some courses and that kind of stuff. So why don't you take a minute and, talk a little bit about that? And I know if anyone listening, even if you are doing video, but you're interested in elopements and intimate weddings and small weddings, I know her course would really be helpful for you. And then you can also, share where people can, find you on the internet and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, I for the last couple of years have really been so passionate about educating other photographers and industry professionals who are interested in serving eloping couples, because it's this super exciting emerging market that couples have just really different needs. Their whole process of planning and executing a day is totally different than planning and executing a big wedding. And there's lots of such cool opportunities for super cool different specialties of florists who are experts in what type of bouquet you can hike up a mountain with that's going to last, and a hair and makeup artist that can make your makeup last through a 10-mile hike and hike with you and do touch-ups or whatever it is. And, videographers that can do the same thing. And obviously my area of expertise is with photographers. And, it aligns with like the reason that I created a team and that I don't just work all by myself anymore, is that I truly, at the core of my heart just like want more couples to be able to at least have the option to elope, because still the standard, and I think in the wedding industry, in a little bubble of Instagram, that it can feel like, oh, everyone knows about elopements, everyone's eloping, it's like just as common as big weddings. It's really not. It is not. Like the general population, anytime I talk to anyone who is not online in a photographer Facebook group, they're like, an elopement? What the heck is that? Like, there is still so much opportunity for growth. And I think the more people that at least know eloping is an option, like, I think that that's making a better world from an environmental standpoint, to just like a couple having the chance to have a day that's truly about them. And, you know, there are so many people that go into the wedding process thinking, I have to do this, and not realizing like this thing that they're dreading, like they don't actually have to. There is another way. And I have found that to be so incredibly fulfilling. There's nothing more fulfilling to me than hearing a couple say like, you're the reason we eloped. Like, we wouldn't have known it was an option. We wouldn't have done it and been able to figure it out without you. And that's incredibly satisfying. And you get the opportunity to do that as a photographer. And I know couples who also just hire only video for an elopement day, and where you as a videographer could get the chance to do that as well, to help them create their whole day and their whole experience and be so deeply involved in that. And every year on their anniversary, they'll remember that you were a huge part of making that happen. And that's so fulfilling to me. And educating is a way of me like helping that happen for more couples via other photographers, and helping more photographers and videographers be able to live lives that feel just so, it feels so much more fulfilling to me than when I was shooting big weddings. I feel like I'm really doing good in the world now, more than just being a cog in a machine of just doing a job. And so I came out this year with the first course about actually how to build a business and market and attract eloping couples. It is a business focused course. There's a little bit about photography, which videographers you'll have to figure out your own stuff on, but the vast majority, like 90% of the course, is all business and marketing focused. So it's super relevant to anyone who is wanting to figure out how to niche down, how to specialize. If, you know, shooting elopements is your dream, and even if you just want to figure out, like, is this something that I could do or should do, it is hands down the only and the best course to figure that out right now. So, so that's called the Elopement Photographer course through Adventurous Academy, which is my education business. You can find that at adventurousacademy.com. Right now, I'm really excited. There's actually a free full-length behind-the-scenes video, like an hour and 20-minute video of me photographing and the whole behind-the-scenes experience of an all-day elopement in Patagonia. Awesome. So I had a videographer come with me, and honestly, just watching that video would give you a really good sense about whether the experience, the behind the scenes of photographing or videoing an elopement would be for you. So if you go to adventurous.academy.com, you can watch that free full-length video. Now the course is relaunching on November 26th of 2019 this year. So
yeah.
So just in about a month.
They're on Instagram.
Just about a month, yeah.
I heard, Nick, that they have a small following on Instagram. You've heard of this
I heard
platform,
she does
Maddie,
have a
correct?
small following.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
Adventure Instead Academy has a small following. Adventure Instead has...
That's the one that has the small following that I was talking about.
Bigger than small following. So
that's the one I was talking about.
If you want to see all the types of elopements and where Amber, Tori, and I are photographing and all the amazing couples we get to work with, we're on Instagram, Adventure Instead.
And they only have a cool, 100,000 followers? I mean,
yeah.
No big deal.
They're all real followers, guys. Never paid for followers.
The real deal
as she drinks her soda.
You know, her sparkling. She's like, I sit here on my sparkling throne.
Sparkling water, guys. Waterloo.
This episode is brought to you by Waterloo. Maddie's affiliate link will be in the description below. So.
Better than the Croix, I'm just saying.
Don't get me started about that. No. Well, my goodness, Nick. I mean, I'm sitting here taking notes. Great information. There's so much more. If you're listening to this, check out the links below, because there's definitely so much more with Adventure Instead and the Academy and everything. Thank you so much, Maddie, for taking the time and being on.
Absolutely. So great chatting with you guys. Let's do it again sometime.
Such a good episode with Maddie Mae. Man, I just loved hearing her story and why elopements really connect with her. So good. Thank you so much for listening. I want to implore you to check out howtofilmweddings.com. We have a digital shop there where you can get some email templates and a wedding day questionnaire. We have also recently launched a merch shop where you can get some sweet t-shirts, stickers, and even some cool coffee mugs. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel, leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher, and until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.